Good evening, Heavenly Parent. Thank you for this chance to connect with our sisters who I know are still coming in, but we really want to, make this space for you to especially connect with these women, these daughters, many who are mothers, who are feeling, a really unique part of your heart in our experience as women and mothers, and feeling also your desperate love to share this aspect, your motherly aspect with the world and especially the providence at this time. And so I pray, Heavenly Parent, that we can really create this space for you to be welcome, to express yourself fully and wholly, and for us to be able to reflect that divine essence of yours. I want to offer all these things to you in the name of David and Kaylee Moffat, a Blessed Central Family. Adieu. So thanks for those who are joining tonight. I know others are still coming, but yeah, I always am excited for some of the words that I have found from Mother. And yeah, if you saw the call from last time, there were some really interesting quotes from Mother that she said soon after Father had passed, and the realization that she had been trying to bring things forward a long time ago, and that we as a community were not ready to receive it. So I want to read a few more things from Mother. I'm going to try to keep my insights short because there are others that I asked to share tonight. And also, I wanted to share a dream that I had last night with you and really open it up. Yeah, so let me, okay, pull this one up. So I think when we go through these, it's very interesting to pay attention to the dates. At the bottom, it's the year, month, and day. Some of you maybe were there at this gathering. This is 2015 in May in East Garden. So maybe some of you were there or some of your friends were there. Okay, so this is just an excerpt from the whole speech, but she says, looking from this point of view, there are many, many things that we need to teach the world. What do I need to say to you so that you will understand my heart? I feel I must tell you everything from beginning to end. We need to leave something more permanent than what Christianity built for 2,000 years. Our descendants should be able to admire and love true parents just by looking at even one building saying, "Thank you, true parents. You came into this corrupted world and practiced true love, found and restored all of humanity as your own children, and opened the doors to the path of eternal life. Why was I born in this later time? If I had lived together with true parents, I would have brought greater achievements to true parents than my ancestors did. All of you, please awaken. From now on, you need to be different. From now on, do not be satisfied to be observers. All of you, please become responsible people, responsible owners, become the owners. I wanted to start with this because mm, I think this is a very motherly way of challenging us, but to think about our descendants many, many years from now who are looking back and seeing the works that true parents left behind and the museums that are built in their honor and the stories that are passed on and the longing of our future descendants of saying, if I had been alive at the time of true parents, I would have brought more victory for true parents. And, it's not coming with a judgmental heart. I don't feel that from Mother, but I do feel with the few years that she has left on earth that she needs us to wake up. And she even says it, right? She says, all of you, please awaken, meaning we're still asleep. We still don't get it. And I think to really be these filial children for Mother right now, we do have to wake up. We do have to recognize what's going on, even with our busy lives and mom lives, but try to make a way to be able to support Mother and contribute to the providence at this time. This one is from 2013. The whole speech is interesting, and I read some of it last time too. But many times, even recently, Mother's talking about Israel over and over again, and about the indemnity that Israel had to pay. She also talks about the key role of women in Israeli women, about keeping the traditions. And yeah, this gives a little bit deeper insight to it. And she says the people of Israel did not know the history of God's providence, meaning they didn't also understand, who they were preparing for in the Messiah, or that of indemnity. They just thought that they were a chosen people, blessed by God and preserved that one point alone. Therefore, they could not avoid sending Jesus in such a miserable way, meaning they couldn't accept him. The people of Israel ended up becoming a wandering people for 2,000 years as a result. They became a people without a nation. Amidst such a history, however, it was the role of mothers to keep their lives and traditions going. That's why I emphasize the creation of an environment. Our first generation, the parents, could not fulfill their responsibility. They came to know God's grace, the truth, and yet they could not fulfill the responsibility to match the blessings they had received. Hence, the necessary environment could not be created. As a result, many second generation members have left. This is truly regrettable. As parents, you have nothing to say. If we do not fulfill our responsibility, second generation members must pay the indemnity. Nobody knows how great the indemnity conditions will become, but without fail, they must be paid. We also have a responsibility to fulfill until all the people in the world have been embraced. You cannot avoid this, and if you do not pay all the indemnity, your descendants will have to pay it. Now, I'm finding actually a surprising amount of speeches where Mother is talking about this point, about the second generation who are falling away because the environment was not created for them. And I realized like how much she was holding on to this, seeing what was happening in our movement, even seeing the impact on her own children and on our generation of many of us losing our way out of pain and difficulty, and how she could never bring this up. And so finally, this is 2013, right? This is not very long after Father passed. This is January 2013. I think this one in particular, she's speaking to a group of women's fed leaders. It's the same speech that I read last time. But she's talking about the environment that needs to be made, right? And she's comparing that to Israel and how it's the mothers who created that environment, that tradition. But I mean, surprisingly, what stood out to me when I read it today to prepare for tonight is I think the sad fact is that we're kind of beyond this speech where Mother's pleading with the first generation members to take responsibility, and in reality, we are paying some indemnity. We do have that being passed on to us, and now it's really a question of what do we need to do so that our children don't have to go the same course and pay the same indemnity. And she's kind of been hinting at this. If some of you watched Damien's speech from Las Vegas 2 weeks ago, she was talking a lot about, in that speech, she also talked about her concern of the 36 couple children, the older blessed children, who many of them live in America, and how she's very concerned about them because they were educated in a time where Father was the teacher, and he hadn't yet become like the true parent. And that they have this incomplete understanding of the providence. And if they don't touch the providence, then there will be some indemnity that has to be paid later. And so she's not saying this with any judgment, but I feel it out of the concern of a mother's heart, saying, I'm worried about my children. I'm worried about what their experience will be if we don't take care of this. Okay, so this one, I think there's two more I want to read. This one says, this is from 2015, which is still a long time ago. It's like 9 years ago. maybe 8.5. We need to advance not only toward the establishment of Chunoguk, but also toward its firm settlement. The Chinese character an in the word for firm settlement is composed of the character of a woman within the character of a house, or the top part of a traditional hat for men. Hence, the character an is the one that means comfort, peacefulness, or calm. And it continues, she says, in the world, when a large house is built, who is the owner of the house? Is it the man or the woman? In Korea, we have the husband, the bakat yangban, which literally means outside nobleman. And we call the wife the anbang manim, which is the inside woman or the woman of the main room. In a traditional Korean house, which is divided into a number of sections, the husband is only in charge of the men's quarters, which is one of the outer sections of the house. What this means is that in the context of providential history, the woman's role is important. I mean, it's such a simple thing Mother is saying here, but what she's talking about, she's using it in a very non-confrontational way to talk about how in the home, the husband is in charge of his one little section of the house, which is on the outside, but that the wife is actually in charge of all the other rooms, all the other parts of the house. And she's using that example. And what does she say? She says, what this means is that in the context of providential history, the woman's role is important. And she doesn't talk about it more, but it's like she's really simply saying something very important. And it makes me think about the whole concept of the 99.99% what we inherit from Heavenly Parent. But that the woman's role and the woman's responsibility, is much actually larger in comparison to the man's responsibility. And if you think about that and how we've only made space really for the man's responsibility to be fulfilled and understood, it means only this small section of the providence has been able to be fulfilled. And there's still the whole other area of God's traditional Korean providential house that needs to be cared for and taken care of. Okay, this one is really fascinating. It's the one I want to end on. But before we read it, I just want you to pay attention to this, the timing. This is the end of 2013. But it's to the wives of the graduates of Korea's Top Gun workshop, which is such a fascinating group of people to talk to. I don't know the whole context, but you get the impression that it's like a bunch of men leaders were invited to the Top Gun workshop, but Mother wanted to talk to their wives, which I just love. Okay. So she says some interesting things. The whole speech is interesting, but here's the part I pulled out. If Adam and Eve had become one with God 6,000 years ago, a new providence would have been achieved then. Even though Father suddenly ascended, true Father, he did so out of love to set up those first and second generation members that worked with him in positions of responsibility in order to save it once more. You must understand this. You must have only absolute faith and obedience. You must take the initiative on the front line in embracing all humanity in true love as your brothers and sisters. I included this because the setup is important, I think. What Mother feels, probably what we pick up from this, is that still at this time, even the women are not understanding Mother's heart. And, Father has passed. And what is Mother's role? And why did Father pass? And feeling lost and confused. And so she has to kind of use Father as the starting point to build trust, right? And the foundation, which is too bad, but she uses it. Then she says, women and the wives of those in positions of responsibility must take the lead. Let's read it again. Women and the wives of those in positions of responsibility must take the lead. So she says this in 2013 to the wives of all the men who came to the leadership workshop. Do you understand? While I was preparing for the holy wedding with True Father, I made the determination to end this tiresome providence of restoration through indemnity. Just pausing there, this is just the beginnings of now what Mother is saying, that she made the determination to become blessed, right? To take responsibility, to be the true parents. And she couldn't say it all even then, but she's beginning to plant those seeds. And she says, people think that Father alone is the returning Messiah and that the Messiah is a man. You have to think about who she's saying this to, right? And the timing of it. However, it doesn't work with only a man. I had to go with him all the way to the end. I had to fulfill my responsibility. So, when I read this, I'm trying to think like Mother coming in, and now she is the leader of the movement, and people not understanding and not accepting her and not resonating with her heart. And she's been holding on to this for so long, right? She's been holding on to it for so long. And so who does she choose to share this with? She chooses to share it with the wives. And what is she feeling? She's probably taken a huge risk to be vulnerable and to say things that no one has ever heard her say before, but trusting that the women will understand, that the women will not reject her, that the women will accept her. You clearly understand the second part of the divine principle, right? I had to set them up, I had to set them the indemnity conditions all by myself. That is the difference between you and me. I also had many critical moments. However, I was single-hearted in my devotion to liberate God. That is why I am confident in front of humanity as the true parents. So now, knowing what we know, I understand this, right? Mother saying that actually no one raised her, no one taught her. She had to take responsibility for her own indemnity conditions, her own course to overcome it. And it's just fascinating to me that she's saying this in 2013 and none of it made its way to us. I think this is the last slide. With the Top Gun workshop conducted, you must become one with me. We must become one. Is that not what she's also saying now, almost 9 years later? Especially to the women. In a world of goodness without any trace of the fall, everyone would know what God was thinking of. Even if I don't say anything, you should be able to think, what is True Mother thinking of? I'll do it for her in that way. So just repeating, if I don't say anything, you should be able to think, what is True Mother thinking of? I'll do it for her in that way. And I wanted to end with that because I think, it's just a few of us here tonight, but I know many ladies watch these calls later. And I think all of the women kind of attracted to this spirit right now are examples of that, who even if Mother can't say it, even if you can't be in a room with Mother and her speak to you directly, but that you have the spiritual intuition to be able to tap into Mother and say, what is she thinking? What does she need? And I will respond to it in that way, even if nobody else understands, even if nobody asks it of me directly, even if it's different than what is going on around me, that I will take responsibility for it and respond to it in that way. And yeah, I wanted to share, today has been a crazy day for me. I don't know what's going on. And Crescentia, you'd be very proud of me. I have been very bold in saying exactly what I want to certain people and to the universe. I have not been able to like take a deep breath all day. And last night I had a very interesting dream, and I'm curious what people take from it. But Mother, young true parents, like young Mother, I have the image of like the scarf in like the 70s over her head with the big sunglasses. We're on this like flying battleship, warship type thing. And they had just come off after being like excruciatingly tortured and interviewed and trying to get questions out of them, especially True Mother. Was sitting there and this guy was like screaming at her and asking her all these questions, and she just silently stood there. And finally, the battleship landed, and mother and father walked off, and everybody was taking care of him and helping him make his way. And mother came off, and she fell and she screamed, and nobody listened to her. Nobody paid attention to her. And so she came off, and everybody was taking care of father. And for some reason, uh, it was clear to me that what had just happened was there was a huge war that was about to occur, but that mother had single-handedly stopped that war, and nobody knew about it. And the credit wasn't being given to her, the acknowledgement wasn't being given to her. But the thing that, is a very different kind of dream for me, and I never have dreams of mother being young. It's always older, true mother. But the interesting thing about this, and now I can understand why she was so young, is she looked at me for a long time because I approached her and I came up to her and she looked at me with really questioning eyes and she said, "Can I trust you?" And there's like this moment of like she's deciding whether or not to reveal some serious secrets. And it felt very like alarming for my system, right? Can I trust you? Not lovingly, but like really questioning, are you loyal to me? And then all of a sudden the energy changes completely and she laughs and she's like, "Of course, you're my sister. I can trust you, of course." And I, that's because this is young true mother, right? This is not my mother, this is my sister. And then she tells me that we're about to go, someone really important, like some super spy, is going to paint her nails. And so it's her secret meeting. Someone's going to paint her nails and reveal all the secrets to her. And so we're going to go and listen to all the plans. And Diane Hack came at that part too. So if she's listening to this, Diane, you were in my dream with mother last night. And I sent this text to Mari and Crescentia at like 6:30 in the morning. It's like full of errors. I can't believe you understood any of the message I sent because I'm so tired. But when I went on a prayer walk that morning, I realized like it's different energy because I think mother is calling us to be different also. It's not just attending our mother, but actually she needs us to stand like on an equal footing with mother. She needs us to take even more responsibility, not just be sheltered by mother. We have had this time period to be sheltered and nurtured by her, but to also, be in the planning with her, be in the planning. So I took some bold steps today and complained that no women were invited to the leaders meeting that's happening in Korea in a week and a half, to all of the men leaders that I have access to who have some power. And anyways, one of them semi-tried. But I made a good pitch and we'll see how it goes. And I don't necessarily want to go to Korea, but it's the family fed chairs, regional chairs, and the UPF regional chairs who have been invited, which are 99% men. So I offer all of that to you. That's my update of my crazy day. But I also asked a few people to be ready to share their hearts because there's just some incredible things that are happening, and the spiritual insight that's like flooding right now, and like the miracles that are taking place with you women who are kind of resonating with mother, I think really, really need to be shared. So I don't want to call on anyone in particular, but maybe those three ladies who I asked, if you're feeling ready to call, you can to share, you can go ahead and unmute and share your hearts.